What's up my awesome Mad lads, my name is Mad Dog and welcome back to another Mad Theory video. This time we're actually going to be talking about Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit game. Yep, it's actually been a long time since I even talked about Into the Pit, let alone that I actually did a theory about it based on the first very book that I talked about, specifically about the one being that was actually inside the Spring Bonnie suit. Now, as we all know, specifically that Spring Bonnie, being that the main threat that he is specifically in the games now, we actually can be able to now confirm that he's a completely different entity all in his own. So I was going to talk about saying the options was obviously going to be William Afton, but since that, well, number one, that is not William Afton in the suit, like I actually mentioned before in my last video about this, is that we can obviously guarantee that it's not him, because obviously he looks way too fleshy, he's too red, and he's kind of very gory in the inside, if you get my drift. So I decided to basically simmer it down into two more other options, specifically if this being was a completely different being on its own, or if this being was specifically Old Man Consequences. Starting off with Old Man Consequences, I did actually talk about this character before, being with the fact that since he kind of looks very similar to the creature inside the suit, and since that they both technically look red, especially if you're using Source Filmmaker, you can actually take off the armor of the suit, and that's when you realize that you get to see this hideous looking being inside the suit, all red with the sharp pointy teeth, kind of like Old Man Consequences, even though it looks very blocky in the pixelated form. He does have a bit of a small little head, while his jaws are completely very wide and very long. I've always thought to assume myself that Old Man Consequences was actually this disgusting, hideous beast itself. Now, I know that but I know also due to the fact that Old Man Consequences was also in the Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach 1 Princess Quest minigames, and also the Help Wanted 2 Princess Quest 4 minigame, which basically kind of makes things a little bit more confusing, but still, due to the fact that he is red, just like this red beast inside the suit, I mean, I've always thought to myself that it could possibly have been Old Man Consequences. But the only question to that is, why would you think that it would be Old Man Consequences? Why on earth would Old Man Consequences go out of the way to selling, Cassidy, the vengeful spirit, to leave the demon to his demons, rest your soul, there's nothing else left, that all of a sudden he would then have the plans to actually, go about his way to escape the place, and also, take William Afton's place into the specific timeline that he was in, and to just make a whole complete different dimension or timeline that was once existed, and just taking William Afton's place. Wouldn't that technically mean that he's just gonna make history repeat itself in the exact same timeline, but will have, Old Man Consequences be the one to do the work for him, even though he's technically already dead? Probably. However, that's not really the case, because as we all know, the beast itself inside the suit actually does get tangled up into the ball pit net wires, and then he basically struggles and suffocates from those ropes or wires, leaving him to literally being dead after being suffocated from the wires from his neck, that he wouldn't be able to breathe. So yeah, I highly doubt that that's actually going to work, and since due to the fact that Old Man Consequences was still around in Help Wanted 2 for the Princess Quest 4 minigame, I highly doubt that's really the case. I mean, it seems like that Old Man Consequences is a reasonable enough guy to not do anything like that. And plus, even if he actually let the whole circumstances repeat itself anyways, then regardless, he would have died anyways and become the new Springtrap, if anything, if the timeline kept on going and no one was able to actually stop him. Or if anybody, when Oswald tried to stop him, then obviously that would have worked. That would have not have happened. And besides, Old Man Consequences would have actually died in the ball pit along with it, with the suit inside being on him still. I mean, if Old Man Consequences is considered to be immortal, then how the heck can he possibly die from suffocation from freaking a ball pit net. Someone explain that to me. But it's a good suggestion. However, let's talk about being the beast just being, well, a completely different entity of its own. Well, that's also another possibility. Unless, however, the thing was actually created by Old Man Consequences himself, which basically could also make a lot of sense as well. I mean, the both of them do look red, and if Old Man Consequences did actually create this hideous beast of William Afton, then I guess you can say that could also work as well. I don't know. You need a lot more evidence for that, to be honest. Also, being with the fact that, you know, that this is another book specifically based on the pit, which is basically Return from Into the Pit, which is like basically somewhat of a sequel to the original Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights Into the Big Book, or even like a sequel to, you know, the Into the Pit game. I'm not too sure about that. I have seen a bit from Rytos, I think, before, but like I just need a little bit more detail. Like, it's a little bit confusing how they actually bring that up, and like, you know, how Into the Pit Spring Bonnie could still be alive or something like that. I don't freaking know. It's just very complicated. Then again, FNAF is always complicated, so yeah, really should not be much of a surprise at this instance. Then, of course, you got the fact that if it's not created by Old Man Consequences, but it is being created by, well, William Afton himself. But not exactly him knowing that he would have actually realized that he created this beast, unless if he did and he just doesn't know how that would have worked. However, being with the fact with all the stuff that has been going on throughout his life, all the pain, suffering, and agony that he would have actually had to deal with, would obviously created this beast within him. Therefore, would have actually, you know, resulted in creating this hideous looking being that is filled with agony and hate. Remember the quote specifically from Nightmare in Ultimate Custom Night? That kind of suggests that with the agony and all the darkness and evil that he's actually, you know, had within him, has somehow managed to create this unbelievable, unexisting, yet amazingly existing itself being out of existence, just with the use of having these emotions just being, you know, clouded up within him. I mean, yeah, it's a well-known thought, and to be honest, I would actually kind of agree mostly with that option as well. To be honest, it is pretty much the only explanation that we could pretty much think of here. And even if William Afton actually did witness this sort of thing, and if he actually did see this creature-like thing that looks like him, but it isn't, then he would have actually, like, you know, he would have took this more into consideration with all of the experiments that he has done, trying to kidnap children and then just murdering them into springlock suits, or just, you know, put him into his, like, the nightmare gas situation, all of those sort of things. He would have just taken that more consideration and just continued on with his experience. With William Afton being at this stage, he wouldn't have stopped. He would have just kept on going. It's funny, however, due to the fact when the days when William Afton was Springtrap in FNAF 3, I mean, I guess you could say that this kind of looks like the fourth wall break with, you know, this is the fate that William Afton was destined to become. Even though technically that Into the Spring Bonnie is actually, you know, not exactly very green, is not like a moldy green, it's still like a very clean yellow golden paint Spring Bonnie animatronic. However, like on the days when William Afton was Springtrap, he was very green, very moldy, his cores were completely rotten, he was very fleshy. But so was the monster in the Spring Bonnie animatronic and Into the Pit. I feel like that's basically what that was trying to symbolize. That he was just basically destined to become the monster that he was. But then in the end failed once and then come back to life in FNAF 3, FNAF 6, all very bony and all that. But then again, failed again. And that's when his plans failed. You could possibly say that William Afton sprung out of luck without even him knowing that it was actually bound to happen. And with that pretty much wraps up for today's theories. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sorry if that was a bit of a shorter one than I thought it would be. I thought I would probably have more than this, but let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Do you think that any of those two options would actually probably make a lot of sense? Do you think Old Man Consequences is the beast inside Spring Bonnie? Or do you think it was a completely different being, like created by Old Man Consequences or by William Afton's Agony? Your choice. Anyway, again, thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Click on the notification bell to never miss a video. Stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, my name is Mad Dog, and may your days be mad and rad.